School.
Open the page. I don't want to hear you say that.
Put that umbrella around the one and take it off you.
Warum?
Lampton School, Hounslow. John Bayley is on his way to observe Science NQT Jim Weiss.
Let's look at some things that we take for granted now, okay, and think about kind of the ways or how long ago it was invented.
Today, Jim's teaching a top Year 9 set for a double lesson on how inventions are developed.
Soap. How old is soap?
2,000 years.
Good, good. Yeah, about 2,500 years ago by a group of people in the Mediterranean called the Phoenicians, and they were the first ones that seemed to have come up with this chemical stuff, and that seemed to clean them better than just washing in water. Right?
Jim always wanted to teach and has had a series of jobs, including 8 years in youth work, before fulfilling his ambition.
The reality is that most things are done by large groups of people in the long run.
He's an experienced public speaker and is aware that his reliance on rhetoric can lead to him under-planning his lessons. John Bayley's here to give advice.
Well, first, people never thought you could fly, but they figured out how to fly. The next step was how to fly faster and faster and faster. And in the UK, someone developed how to use a jet engine or jet propulsion because they figured out the chemistry of the combustion of certain fuels.
Now, I think they like this, but you're talking a lot now, aren't you? And I wrote down here, the entertainer, and underlined it. And I started looking at these kids' faces, and I was wondering, how much are they learning, and how much are they along for the ride?
Rubber has been around for hundreds of years. When Columbus and them first started going over to America, they found these people had balls of this stuff that would bounce.
You are a fantastic storyteller.
Yeah, it's one of the things that drives me. It's one of the motivations to teach is to entertain and to share. And so it's really hard for me to step back and say, okay, when are they learning? And it is one of the difficulties.
So if we can crack it, we'll have done something really good, won't we? I want to find some way of using all your talents, but getting them working more independently, getting the level of challenge higher, getting them doing more of the work and turning you into more of a guide by the side.
Write down these items, and then we're going to come up with like 3 or more properties that you would want the material to have. Think about its purpose, and then try to think about what property you need in that product or that material to meet that purpose. Okay, car's body. Como, give me a couple of them. Because it's strong.
And really, really light.
And light. Good. Okay. All right, Harveer. Rust-proof. Okay. Good. Shamsa.
Something that can be shaped.
Ah, shape. The best word is malleable.
I liked when they were thinking about those materials for cars and the qualities that you look for in windscreen materials. But I thought, wow, that would have made a really good sort. All you had to do is put up on the
the smart board or something.
On the smart board, 80 qualities of materials, and then ask them to group them around various parts of the car. Then you could have said go, and then bang, it stops you from dishing it out to them, and you can set them challenges. You know, I want at least 7 qualities for each box, that kind of stuff, so that they're doing the work. And then we keep you, the narrator and the storyteller, we keep you there for big moments.
Kevlar.
Next, the class is given information sheets on well-known inventions and is set the task of creating a flow diagram listing the key stages of development.
They had a need for a cured fluid. Okay? So you can write that. That's the first starter. I just tried to pick like one major point out of each paragraph, okay, that you can explain, okay, or maybe 2 at the most.
I've got some questions about the level of challenge, because I'm thinking, OK, I don't know too much about these kids, except they're in a top set. And if I met one of them and said, the way inventions work is There's a mixture of old and new materials, new needs get discovered, and then it gets brought to market. He could probably get the whole lot in about 10 minutes, couldn't he? I'm not a scientist. I could probably get the whole lot in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm worrying about how well stretched the smartest kids are in there.
This class is set. I think of them as a unit. So I don't think about it as differentiation as much, but I need to. I mean, just when I think of, as you say, you know, ask myself the question, what could the high flyers achieve in this topic today?
I like differentiating from the top. I like the idea of finding out what your highest achieving pupils can do and setting the pace of the lesson from that. So you know that you want to teach me how to build a Polaris missile, and you know that you can give me the blueprints for a Polaris with a diagram, and I'll go away and learn how to do it. There's someone else in the room who won't last 5 minutes unless you give them some soda in a tube and let them do some work with a propulsion system. There's someone else in the room who will be able to read some basic principles from a textbook and will be able to get it a bit better if they talk with someone else. So you've got your experiences, and then the last thing that you need to make sure is that once children have had these experiences, you know that they understand. And that sometimes that one-to-one questioning doesn't give you enough information. So they need to do a presentation, and maybe you need to ask other kids to help you assess it.
Tell me about, okay, your process of what you think the Post-it notes, how it went, okay, how it was developed.
This scientist was trying to create a strong adhesive.
Okay.
He created one, but it was a lot weaker than what was currently used. Another scientist named Arthur Fry was in the church choir, and his placemakers wouldn't stay in his book, so then he used it to keep his placemakers stuck in his hymn book, and then 6 years later 3M started to distribute it as Post-it notes.
All that stuff about how inventions are made, what's our learning objective there? What is it you want them to know? What's the skill you want me to have by the time I've done this?
Do you see a pattern of a process of how things are invented? Or could you lay out a pattern for inventions?
Was there any more to the lesson than that? Was there anything more we wanted them to understand or know?
No, it was a cheerleader. It was a cheerleader lesson, in that it was like, shouldn't you love science? Because it was almost like that kind of a lesson.
So we're both feeling it's a bit thin, aren't we? I can see two things about it. One is if I go to science because I want to do something, 40 minutes has passed. Yeah, OK, it's interesting. The guy's told us some interesting stories about Christopher Columbus, and the boffs who like all this abstract stuff are talking about but I haven't made, designed, drawn, or made anything happen yet. So I think one is it needs some doing, and two, it needs extended objectives. Because that's what planning is, isn't it? In the first step, it's being absolutely clear about what it is you want them to learn. And then the second step is being clear what experiences do you want children to have during that lesson.
2 weeks later, John's back to the same double lesson to see if Jim has been able to cut down his talking and get the pupils to do more of the work. Today, Year 9 are studying the structure and function of leaves.
You're going to be drawing from the slides bits of the leaf, okay? And you're going to want to use some of these words as you see it and how to describe it. At the very top, we call that the cuticle. As you go through the leaf, we get what we call these spongy cells. I'll come up this way. And these are the smaller tubes that we call the xylem tubes and the phloem tubes. Now, you're going to take the slides. Everybody, I want to make sure makes a drawing of a cross-section of the leaf and labels what you can see.
Jim's followed John's advice with more hands-on activities.
Wait, I'm getting it. There we go. Wait. There we go. Let me see. Free! I got it. Can you see it? Yeah. Whoa! You got to pay. That's it. Whoa! Stop blocking the lights. Whoa.
Yeah, excellent stem one right here.
I'm drawing this one.
That is the one that
I got an A star drawing right here of a leaf. Get that labeled up, okay? That part there, okay? Really nice detail. Okay, we're gonna go on to our next little part. We've looked at what the leaf does. We looked at what the leaf structure is like. Komal, did you see any palisade cells? You sort of saw them? Yeah, it's hard. A lot of you have excellent drawings of them, you just haven't labeled it, but that's what they are. Okay, these nice long bits.
Having helped the students understand the structure of leaves, Jim tests their knowledge of plant growth with a puzzle. They sort keywords into sequences to map the progress of seed development.
All right, I'm going to come around and then we'll look at them together.
Not plant structure. It's basic building blocks.
The glucose goes here, okay? All right. And so with the glucose, then it turns itself into these other bits. Okay?
Have you done salt and mineral?
We're going to stop now. What does a seed need, okay, to get it to grow? Forward. Give me one.
It needs carbon dioxide.
Okay, good. Shankar, name me one basic building block that it makes out of the glucose. Starch. Good. Pamela, give me another one. Basic building blocks.
Cellulose.
Cellulose. All right.
That was much, much, much better. I was pleased with that. First of all, just tell me, since we met last time, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I've been focusing on chunking.
Okay.
So with realizing that not giving too much information all at once, and trying to limit it to 3 to 5 bits before I have an activity for them that gets them to work on it and get it into their head and observe it. And then trying to be more specific about saying, okay, now we're going on to the next bit of information. You've learned that. Let's go on to the next bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I saw. There was a number of occasions when there was good independent practice. They were figuring out how to use those microscopes and getting results from them. You're providing more frameworks for them to work independently. So you've got your multi-circle diagram, for example. So the more frameworks they get, the better. I like the way, I mean, you're always going to be a talker in the classroom. I like the way you're using that to generate more plenary points in the lesson. I like the fact that you're getting clear about your learning objectives and your outcomes. I think that you can make a quick gain by making those more elaborate. They don't have to write it down, but if at the beginning, if you're saying to them, and by the end of the lesson, you're going to know A, B, C, D, E, and F, you're going to be clever boys and girls. And it also means that during the lesson, you can say, how are we doing on Objective A? How are we doing on Objective B? How are we doing on Objective C? So do you see it gives a rich journey? But I thought it was much better. I hope you think so too.